Max Verstappen wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix for his 15th victory in his second championship winning season. 15 wins in a season. That is the new benchmark for the rest to challenge.
Max Verstappen is one of the most enthralling talents in the realm of F1 racing. Driving in only his fourth season, he's been lauded for possessing raw speed and showing mercurial talent, a rare combo expected only from truly gifted drivers. Today, we'll be seeing Max Verstappen top 10 moments of absolute brilliance. Number 10. Taking victory in Miami. The victory in Miami occurred just after Imola's victory, yet so many fans are missing the bigger picture because they are only looking at the result, even before the race on Sunday. Max Verstappen had seen himself get compromised in qualifying due to a little issue. Ferrari had sealed the front row, while Verstappen was going to start the race in P3 after the qualifying round. Verstappen communicated his thoughts to Red Bull clearly and directly. He emphasized that the group needed to be more exact in his operations, that these issues could not continue at the beginning of the race. Verstappen made quick work of Carlos Sainz, and he was able to pass Leclerc later on in the race. During the race, Max Verstappen demonstrated that despite the problems still being faced by his team, he's still able to compete on equal footing with Ferrari. Number 9. Max Verstappen's victory. At Paul Ricard, Charlotte was in the lead of the race, although Max Verstappen started the undercut by pitting early. Ferrari chose not to take advantage of the situation. Leclerc was going to continue running at the front of the pack, increasing his lead. At the same time, the Dutch driver attempted to get the most out of his new tires in the clean air. It was all poised to be a titanic battle. Still, it all came to an end when the Ferrari driver crashed out of the race and gifted a win to his rival. From this point on, Verstappen was the better driver of the two, and there was no argument left. Number 8. Unbelievable pace in Japan. After finishing 7th in Singapore, it appeared as though Verstappen was going to be frustrated again in Japan. However, he was able to pull off a victory in the Japanese Grand Prix. He won the race with superior performance at the first Charleroi finishing position. The expectation the reduced points would be awarded appeared to indicate Max would have to wait until Austin to win the World Championship. But Leclerc's 5-second penalty for gaining an advantage when he cut the chicane on the last lap and stayed ahead of Perez, combined with the realization that the wording of the regulations meant the Suzuka race would be worth full points, Verstappen had clinched his second World Championship. Realistically, it was already a foregone conclusion even before F1 reached Suzuka. Still, once Verstappen and Red Bull finally realized that the math had added up, he was rightly delighted to be crowned world champion for the second time. Number 7. 2020 70th Anniversary Grand Prix. Mercedes were hugely dominant in the first 4 rounds of the 2020 campaign, winning every race. Max had different plans in mind for the second part of the doubleheader, held at Silverstone. Even though it appeared that Mercedes would win again during one of the extremely unusual hot days that the UK experienced during the summer, the softer Pirelli tires degraded very quickly, notably on the Mercedes car. Sensing an opportunity, Verstappen ignored his team request that he protect his own tires and instead put pressure on Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton, forcing them into early pit stops. The Red Bull driver then extended his stint to almost twice as long as theirs, while also maintaining a decent pace to rejoin just behind Bottas on French tires and passing immediately so often. Verstappen's success has been the result of rapid pace and thrilling overtakes. However, Verstappen's perfect tactics and tire preservation on that day at Silverstone saw him prevail over those in superior machinery. Number 6. The 2022 Hungarian Grand Prix. When drivers finish tenting qualifying at the hangar ring, they typically have a little chance of finishing in the top 5, maybe a podium if fortune falls their way. The Dutchman made very slow progress, but thanks to an undercut, he was able to pass Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso and take 5th place after another undercut. Verstappen could climb up the standings and into a position where he could win the race in spite of a spin that occurred after he had passed Leclerc. Verstappen was able to recover past him once more and then take the lead. When the leaders made their pit stop, starting from P10, he won by a margin of almost 8 seconds. That's incredible. Number 5. The 2021 Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. In 2021, during the race in Imola, Verstappen and Hamilton had their first significant altercation in the course of their intense competition for the championship. Despite the fact that it was heavily raining before the start of the race, Verstappen was able to move up to 3rd place on the grid past his teammate Perez and challenge Hamilton for the lead going into the first corner, while Hamilton maneuvered his Mercedes around Tamborilla's outside. Verstappen remained steadfast on the inside line and and came out on top, despite minor contact. From that point on, he maintained his advantage by avoiding restarts caused by the safety car and making the transition from intermediate to slick tires. Meanwhile, Hamilton lost control of his vehicle and went off the track, forcing him to make a hasty comeback drive from outside the top 10 all the way to second place. Number 4. The 2022 Japanese Grand Prix. Verstappen arrived in Japan as the overwhelming title favorite he needed. At most, a victory in the fastest lap to clinch the title. Alternatively, he hoped that Charles Leclerc would finish third or worse to consider just the win sufficient. It was never a question of whether he would win the championship. The only question was when he would do it. He opened the case with pole position over Leclerc by a margin of just 0.01 seconds. Because of the persistent rain on the race day, the teams decided to start with intermediate tires. Max Verstappen was in the lead when the race was stopped after just 2 laps despite a charge from Leclerc into turn 1 after the extended delay. The race finally got over again, and Verstappen's pace was so dominant that he was able to win the 28 laps race by a margin of more than 27 seconds after 4 points were awarded. Charles Leclerc was handed a post-race penalty that dropped him from second to third place. Verstappen claimed his second F1 world title in the most difficult conditions. Number 3. Wheel-to-wheel racing. The pressure of a championship battle may have had an effect on Verstappen's driving style in 2021, as seen as the fact that he made some questionable actions at Monza, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia. However, during the course of the year, he has developed into a driver who rarely commits any errors. On one hand, there has been a lack of intensity in the 2022 title fight, with less need to go for difficult moves to beat a closely matched rival. Despite this, at the start of the season in Australia and Bahrain, it would have been easy for Verstappen to attempt desperate moves to claw back at a championship lead. Despite this, he did not lose his patience. A standout example in the Saudi Arabian GP and the patience Max exercises when fighting for the lead against Leclerc. He waits to use DRS patiently, knowing if he does not get Leclerc on one lap, he can get him on the other in one DRS zone. They lock up and manage not to crash into each other, showing immense control and respect from both drivers. Number 2. The 2019 Austrian Grand Prix. Verstappen was optimistic about his chances of victory at the Red Bull Ring after gaining a starting position in the first row. In the end, he was victorious. But it took tremendous effort. After getting off to a shaky start and falling to P9, he set a very high bar for himself to reach. It appeared as though he would not succeed because he was still in 4th place with just over 20 laps remaining. But then came the late change, starting with flawless moves on Vettel and Bottas, after then rapidly pulling away from them and catching Charles Leclerc. The two engaged in the titanic battle, with the Dutchman taking the lead with just 2 laps to go by performing one of his best moves ever, which involved drumming to the outside before switching to the inside at the last second and squeezing through. This was truly a vintage Verstappen. Before the performance, City drove at a blistering pace and pulling off such thrilling maneuvers. Number 1. Max Mania. Nothing perfectly captures the spirit of Max Mania like his weekend at home during the Dutch Grand Prix. The scary sight of hordes of fans wearing orange and playing techno with no other team's merchandise inside is a sight to behold. Some drivers find that having the backing of home fans helps them perform better, but there's still a lot of pressure to win when competing on their track. However, Verstappen gave its supporters the best possible race weekend by winning the pole position on Saturday and the race on Sunday. Getting things done was not as simple as it appeared, with the PRIX opting for a one-stop strategy. They pressured Verstappen for the win throughout the race. He withstood the competition and won a popular victory at his home track, thanks to an advantage in tires and his car. Max Verstappen's strong sports mentality provides him with the ferocity required of a multiple world champion and ensures that the expectations of others never rattle him. Saying that, we have come to the end of this video. What do you think about these moments? Do let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, then make sure to hit the thumbs up. For more videos like this, click on the links you see on your screen. We'll come back with another video.